Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 31st July, the news items picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 14. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, regulator turns up heat on erring CAs. So this is regarding regulator for CAs, Chartered Accountants, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So this has had 4,445 complaints registered against CAs as of June 2017. And out of these, punishment has been awarded in 402 cases as such. So this is the detail coming forth. This you should remember is important in the context that Prime Minister Narendra Modi few weeks back in the month of June approximately, he had indicated to the gathering of CAs that all those CAs who are involved in money laundering cases for their clients, they should be prosecuted, there should be action taken against them, and the regulator ICAI has this responsibility. So they are CAs helping tax evaders, as the Prime Minister had pointed out. So in that context, now the ICAI has stated that it would come down heavily, and it has also called for amendments to the norms so that the action against wrongdoers amongst the CAs can be expedited, can be fastened. So this is the detail. Also, you should know that ICAI is under the administrative control of Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So this is showing the details here too again, as you can see. The total cases registered under ICAI since November 2006, because that was the time when the rules were last amended as such. So these are 3,810 cases. Total cases referred to disciplinary committees where punishments were ordered. Cases where members were held not guilty and the cases were closed are shown here, and you can see cases under consideration still pending. Out of 3,810, 1,474 cases are still pending. Then the next news item is red sand snake sighted in Seshachalam Hills. So we just did in the last news that Seshachalam forests, these are located in Andhra Pradesh, and these in the eastern Ghats have rich biodiversity. It was declared a biosphere reserve a few years back. So this Seshachalam forest, here again a news is coming forth that wildlife biologists have sighted an Indian sand snake here. Around 70 years since the last sand snake found in South India. So it is said that this Indian sand snake, which is shown here in this image too, is widely distributed in the eastern, central and northern parts of India. But sighting them in the southern India has last been under Salim Ali, the prominent ornithologist of 1943, when he found them in Bandipur in the Western Ghats, and that was also recovered from the stomach of an eagle. So this is the detail. So now in Seshachalam forest, this Indian sand snake has been sighted. So this is the testimony to the biodiversity richness of the Seshachalam habitat, and the environmentalists here are calling for further research on this region so that more rare and new species can be brought to light. So this is there. This is the Indian sand snake. It has a shiny features as such. The skin is shiny. Then the next news item is Supreme Court seeks clarity on pollution from crackers. So the Supreme Court wants Central Pollution Control Board and Fireworks Research and Development Center at Sivakasi to be present in the court and give details regarding the action taken for studying the pollutive impact of explosive substances used in firecrackers. So the Supreme Court wants to know details regarding this, because air pollution has been a major cause of concern, and firecrackers do cause air pollution. So there have been reports earlier. Central Pollution Control Board had given a report that most fireworks contain sulfur, and that causes air pollution. So now the Supreme Court further wants details and also what action has been taken. So the burden of protecting the environment and framing holistic air pollution standards is a function of Central Pollution Control Board, and the Supreme Court wants clarity on this matter, that what are these standards which have been developed. There's also another organization, PESO, Petroleum and Explosive Safety Organization. This is also a government organization. The Supreme Court has been informed that regulations have been brought out by this organization, and also continuous monitoring and random checks of fireworks also takes place by PESO. So this has been the details provided in the Supreme Court by Additional Solicitor General. So this is there. especially in Sivakasi in Tamil Nadu. This is the region where the firecracker industry is majorly located. Even children are made to work here in firecracker industry, and such details have also come forth quite often. Of course, regulation has become stringent now, but what Supreme Court here is looking at is standards. Having standards adopted for air pollution as such, that what levels of various constituents can be allowed in firecrackers, and enforcing of those regulations. So there'll be further hearing on this too. Then the next news item is it's Sankalp Parva on August 15, Prime Minister. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asked all Indians to celebrate August 15 as Sankalp Parva, which means a day of resolve. That is a day when you decide, resolve to do something constructive for the country. So there is a deadline till August 2022. This will be the year in which we will celebrate our 75th year of independence. So when the 75th Independence Day is celebrated, there should be a resolution that we improve our country, we make all ills quit the country. So he also gives an analogy of how August Kranti Day on August 9, and then on August 15 we finally got independence. So the time frame between this was of 5 years, and that is the same. Means August Kranti, when Quit India movement was launched, was the year 1942, and when we got independence on August 15, it was the year 1947. So with August commencing now, he's calling August as the month of revolutions in the context of India's struggle for independence. And he has said that 5 years from now, the same 5 years as we had gained independence from 1942 to 1947, the 5 years from now, from 2017 to 2022, we should take up, all Indians should take up a decisive role for the future of the country. So he has given this resolve that everybody should resolve that India should be quit of filth, poverty, corruption, terrorism, casteism, and communalism. So this is what he is calling for. So this is there. So these details are also provided here, statements given by him. Then the next news item is government to share missing Bofors files. So this is regarding Public Accounts Committee, the committee which works under the Parliament. So Parliament, there are various standing committees of the Parliament, and this is one of them. It has a tenure of 1 year. Means all members have a term of 1 year. It has 22 members, both from Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Ministers cannot be members in these committees because parliamentary committees scrutinize various provisions, various bills, various reports as such coming before the parliament. So scrutiny by the legislature, by the parliament on the functioning of the executive cannot have executive members under it. So at least in parliamentary committees, there are no ministers as members, and generally it's by convention that Public Accounts Committee is always headed by a member from the opposition political party. So the chairman is always so, and also Public Accounts Committee has CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General of India, as its friend, philosopher and guide. So CAG reports which are placed before the parliament come before Public Accounts Committee, and they seek the details and make a report on the CAG reports, and those are placed before the parliament on which discussions take place. So this one of the oldest CAG report which is still pending before the Public Accounts Committee is regarding Bofors guns deal, the Bofors scandal, which we have already discussed few days back. So I'll not discuss it again here. So this Bofors scandal as such, the CAG report, what details it gave, these you should know, at least the gist of it you should know, that these were howitzer artillery guns, the guns which we had procured from Swedish company, and for Sweden this was a huge defense deal, and it did all in its capacity to acquire this deal with India, and that's why kickbacks or money was given, corruption was indulged in to ensure that this deal is finalized with this Swedish company Bofors for artillery guns. So this finally, the kickbacks which were given at that time, it was Rajiv Gandhi government in power in the 1980s. So that had resulted in a political storm, and eventually when Rajiv Gandhi's government fell in 1989. So some reports, some parts of it, the reports and the files related to Bofors scandal are said to be missing. And the Defense Ministry had asked that part of CAG report should be dropped, because it is pending but the files are missing. But now PSC strongly objected to this suggestion of Defense Ministry and has said that all files related to it should be, and even the minutes of parliamentary panels meetings should be placed before it, and the defense ministry, it is said, has agreed to do so. So this is regarding that. Also, this was in news because of the howitzer artillery guns, which now we have acquired from USA. So since Bofors scandal, after these Bofors guns were acquired from Sweden, we did not acquire any artillery guns. But finally now with USA, we have a deal finalized. And also Bofors guns played a prominent role in the Kargil war. So that also is one aspect of Bofors, that they were guns which had played. And the next news item is Supreme Court allows two broke firms to settle disputes. So this is regarding two cases which have been referred to NCLT, National Company Law Tribunal. You should remember this is the body which has been established under Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of 2016, which has been passed by the Parliament last year. And this we have discussed in detail about Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, NCLT, even NCLAT, the Appellate Tribunal where appeals go from NCLT. All this has been discussed on 17th of July. So we'll not go into all this. If you're not remembering, then you can go through that video. So further now the news is that two firms cases which had been referred to initiate insolvency proceedings before this NCLT, they have approached the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has used its extraordinary constitutional power to allow these companies to withdraw the insolvency proceedings before NCLT and NCLAT and settle their disputes amicably. So this has been allowed. The extraordinary power which Supreme Court has is under Article 142 of the Constitution, where it has the powers to do complete justice to enforce its orders. So using these powers, the Supreme Court has stated that these two firms should be given a second chance. So actually under Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, once the case is referred to NCLT, then there is no going back. Then the insolvency proceedings will start. So there will be hearings before the tribunal. So then NCLAT also looked into these matters in July 13, 2017, few days back. The NCLAT had also given its viewpoint, and it said that the financial creditor cannot withdraw the insolvency applications under the code once it is admitted. Also NCLAT has its inherent power. It under Rule 11 of NCLAT rules, it can allow the parties to withdraw the case. But NCLAT did not allow this. So since NCLAT did not use its inherent powers, the Supreme Court was approached, and Supreme Court has stated that NCLAT is right if it, under its viewpoint, it feels that it should not use these powers, but the Supreme Court has no restriction. It can use its extraordinary powers, and we have given the parties a second chance to settle their disputes. So insolvency means the company would be sold off, made solvent, and the loans would be recovered. But now second chance has been provided because of Supreme Court intervention. So this is a significant development here. And this is regarding Article 142, the powers which the Supreme Court gets, the extraordinary power which it's talking of, that to have its orders enforced as such. So it can pass such decrees, orders to do complete justice for any cause or matter pending before it. So this is there for doing complete justice, as it has pointed out. Then the next news item is India cuts down on US lobbying to lowest in 7 years. So this is regarding lobbying. So first of all, you should understand what is lobbying. Lobbying is a way of influencing lawmakers, convincing them to vote the way you want or to pass a bill the way you want. So India undertakes lobbying in USA. In USA, lobbying is legal, while in India, lobbying is considered as a taboo. So there is no law as such which is legalizing or illegalizing it, but this is not allowed. But Indian government has expenses incurred for lobbying in USA. So in USA, it is formalized as such. So lobbying means there are various advocacy groups which want a particular cause or the other. So they lobby for that particular cause as such. So they want the lawmakers to make a law on that matter. So there are even important business houses which spend a lot of money lobbying. There are also professional lobbyists. So India, you can see it has cut down its total payment to registered lobbyist firms to lobby for India and USA. Means USA should make laws which are in favor of India. So this total payment as such has come down from regular $1,80,000 to now $1,20,000. So this is the first cut in the last 7 years as such. So this has been the disclosure made by BGR Government Affairs, which lobbies in USA on behalf of India. So this is there. So of course, it is criticized also. Lobbying is generally criticized. It's like corruption only, that money changes hands. So it's, of course, it's a dirty word in India, as I said. In 2010, also, influential Indian lobbyist Meera Radia, her audio conversations were leaked, and that had created furor in the country as well. So it is unregulated. Many business houses try to lobby and have laws passed by the parliament in their favor. So this lobbying does take place, it's a fact. So this is there. Of course, then there are advocacy groups too, like they want law prohibiting tobacco or prohibiting alcohol. So these advocacy groups are also there, which lobby for a particular cause. Then the next news item is US prods India on Pyongyang. So USA and India had passed this agreement when Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited USA. So in that joint declaration which they brought forth, North Korea's actions were condemned. Now USA is putting pressure on India to reduce North Korea's diplomatic presence in India. So there is diplomatic presence significantly in New Delhi. So USA wants India to shrink it. So because it is a fact that North Korea has done missile launches and nuclear tests which are threatening world peace, and USA has put it on its, as part of rogue states. So it wants to constrain North Korea and its functioning, also its commercial dealings with various countries. And India also has maintained diplomatic ties with North Korea since the country was formed. So after the Korean Wars in 1950s, North Korea became a separate nation, and it has been active member of non-aligned movement too. So since then, North Korea-India bilateral relations have been there, though on a limited scale. But then in 1990s, when North Korea put forth its nuclear program, that too with help from Pakistan, India-North Korea relations were strained. But still now, even Pakistan's relations with North Korea have also cooled, and USA wants India to restrain North Korea's presence, diplomatic presence in India. So this is there. North Korea, you should know, the country which supports it mainly is China. So here it has its boundary with China and South Korea down here. So this is there. This is also approximately the 38-degree latitude, 38-degree north latitude, which divides North and South Korea. Then next is RBI may cut key interest rate by 25 basis points. So there's nothing new in this. We have already known everything about this. We have already discussed Monetary Policy Committee in detail. Even in the month of July, it has been covered in detail. So if you have been following regularly, will know about it. So Monetary Policy Committee has been meeting every 2 months now, and we have seen that in the last meet, the repo rate, the key policy rate as such, has remained unchanged, but there were expectations that RBI should have cut it by 25 basis points. So now next meeting is going to take place, and now again it is expected that repo rate this time should be cut, because we have seen, this also has been in news, we have discussed twice or thrice now, that retail inflation has eased to 1.54 in the month of 54% in the month of June. So it has gone below 2%. In May, it was 2.18%. Despite this, RBI kept its repo rate unchanged. RBI's main role is inflation targeting. So it has to keep its inflation levels in the country between 2 to 6%. Target is of 4% plus minus 2% band. So that's why 2% to 6% is within which inflation should lie. But we saw that in May it was near 2%, and now in June it went to 1.54%. So this has brought in expectations that now RBI is going to reduce its repo rate by 25 basis points as such. So this is the expectation. Also, RBI has already changed its stance from accommodative to neutral in February 2017 itself, which was also surprising, because the repo rate has to be cut to give a boost to the economy. So that means repo rate cut means interest rate cut for banks taking loans from RBI. Means banks will also take lower interest, means people will take more loans, and there will be more economic activity and economic growth gets a boost. Whereas when repo rate is increased, then it goes the other way around. So in repo rate is generally increased to target inflation. that inflation should be kept under control, because there should be less money in the economy. Means there, people should not easily be getting loans and money should not be easily available, so that inflation is brought down. But now we are seeing the other scenario, that inflation has gone quite low. So that in that case now repo rate has to be cut is the expectation. So that neutral stance means the RBI stance being neutral. It may go in increasing or decreasing. It will decide based on the situation. So that is the stance of RBI as of now. Accommodative was its earlier stance, means it was accommodative. It will make sure that economy gets a boost. It is inclined towards reducing repo rate, bringing a cut in repo rate. But then it was changed to neutral, and now it seems that the RBI has to cut repo rate. So this is the whole thing. Also the dove and hawk thing also we had discussed in this case. That is there. Then the next news item is gas discovery, ONGC for pricing freedom. So Oil and Natural Gas Corporation, it has said that it has discovered a new sedimentary basin which has been discovered in the country after 3 decades since the last discovery. So this is the new basin in Gulf of Kutch of Gujarat coast. So here natural gas discovery has taken place, and this will be the 8th sedimentary basin in the country. So this for oil and natural gas as such, and ONGC is also saying that it will be able to produce natural gas from here, oil and gas from here in 2 years time. But what it is demanding from the government is that it should be given flexibility in deciding the pricing and marketing. So pricing and marketing freedom is what it is been demanding, because otherwise this oil and gas production here would become uneconomic, unviable. So this is the demand here. Also it is said that India has so far 7 producing basins, and out of these 7 producing basins, one was before independence. You can see in 1889 the Assam shelf. Apart from that, all remaining 6 producing basins have been discovered and developed by ONGC. So now it has said that the 8th one has also been opened up, and it wants pricing and marketing freedom. It says the government mandated gas price presently will not make the discovery commercially viable, and it is also not in shallow waters to qualify for a higher price. So some adjustment here the government will have to give some leeway is what ONGC is demanding. So this is the detail shown here, the 7 producing basins of India where oil and gas has been discovered. You can see the last one was here in 1985, the Kaveri basin. 80th was the KG basin. All these have been discovered. The Cambay basin, and now it is the Gulf of Kutch. So both Gulf of Khambat is what is Cambay basin, and this Gulf of Kutch. Both are on the, along the Gujarat coast here. And also here, this is Maharashtra. So this is the discovery here. And now the flexibility demanded. The next is talks begins to divest Air India arm. So presently informal talks are going on, and the government is trying to find potential buyers for Air India subsidiaries. And one request or interest which has come forth, expression of interest has come forth from Airworks, which is India's oldest private sector MRO service, that is maintenance, repair and overhaul service. So a maintenance, repair and overhaul business of Air India is taken care of by its subsidiary Air India Engineering Services Limited, which has been a locksmaking subsidiary as such too. So what government is also planning, we have already seen that Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, which is chaired by Prime Minister himself, has given in principle nod for disinvestment, strategic disinvestment in Air India. Also a committee has been established chaired by Finance Minister to look into how this would be put into effect. So there is one thing doing the rounds, that government may have its subsidiaries, Air India subsidiaries, separately sold out. So this is the detail coming forth, that expression of interest has come forth for this business here. So this is showing that this investment is going to be fruitful. There is interest evinced. We have already seen that even Indigo had expressed interest in Air India's airline facilities. Another one facility which is there, another subsidiary which Air India has, is for ground handling. So ground handling, MRO and airline operations are 3 separate aspects which government is expected would disinvest separately. So that deal will be more attractive for private players. So this is the news coming forth. Here you can see the subsidiaries which are there and the details provided as such here. So this is the status of Air India also, how much profits it has made, how much loan it has on itself, and also the subsidiaries specifically. So here you can see the Air India Express and Air India Transport Services Limited have reported profits, but this Air India Engineering subsidiary, which we are talking of presently for MRO, this is still loss making. Right? So here also the subsidiaries as such provided, the three ones. So this for ground handling, it's Air India Transport Services. For MRO, it is Air India Engineering Services, and other also it has Hotel Corporation of India, which is part of Air India division, is also having prime property. So that is also there apart from airline operations. And of course, we had discussed that the Civil Aviation Ministry does not want complete privatization, but then we still don't know. The Finance Ministry headed body, the committee which has been established, would finally decide how this disinvestment would take place. But the details are coming forth of anybody showing interest as such. So this is just discussed. There are no decisions taken yet. Then next is gaming, a question of skill. So gaming, as we understand it as playing games on computers, video games, etc. This has no regularization, common regularization across the country. The regulations for it vary from state to state. This is one aspect, and also it is stated that betting as such, which is also undertaken in the country, but there is no regulation on this too. Betting is presently illegal in the country, though Lodha committee had recommended that betting should be legalized, because this is a complete underground industry and there is a huge potential for government to earn through taxation on this industry. So it may stand to earn also around, it says 7,200 crore a year from taxes if betting is legalized. So of course there should be restrictions also in place, regulations should be there in place. So there's a case being made for betting being regularized here. And this is the details shown of how various states have different laws on gaming and even gambling. In some states, specifically Goa, we see that gambling to some extent has also been legalized as well. So there is this All India Gaming Federation which has asked Law Commission to look into this matter so that regulation of gaming can take place with a nationwide central gaming law. So this is also been asked to be put forth. So various countries, how do they function? How UK has a gambling commission which is tasked with crime prevention and also opening and making the industry transparent, not letting it go underground. So that is what the basic purpose is. So we can learn from other countries too and formulate laws for ourselves. So a case been made for that. So this is there. Of course, India has a huge potential. Many online gambling operators function, and it's said with huge population in India and large number of middle class population now getting internet access, gambling is also been, visiting of online gambling websites is undertaken by 40% of Indian population who access the internet. So this is also there. And betting, as it is stated, the Lodha committee had recommended that betting should be legalized, of course, with strict monitoring and licensing of bookies houses. So the betting, the potential of this industry is also detailed out here. Then next is new gold bond scheme may draw more investors. So this is regarding sovereign gold bond scheme. So this is a scheme which has been launched by Government of India in 2015, and under this scheme, individuals were allowed to have these gold bonds. So these gold bonds can be in form of demat accounts or even in form of paper, online or in paper format. So this, instead of buying gold, you can buy this gold bond, because a significant part of the population also buys gold as an investment option, because it is felt that gold is a safe asset. So that is the expectation in the country. So that is why the government has come up with this sovereign gold bond scheme. It started in 2015. Presently, it has been made more attractive because earlier the minimum is 1 gram gold bond which you can buy, and maximum. So this gold bond is, value is same as value of that amount of gold. So maximum gold bond which you could buy was 0.5 kg, 500 gram for individuals, Hindu undivided family. But now this limit has been increased to 4 kgs. So it has been made more attractive for high net worth individuals, rich farmers, etc. Even for trusts, this limit has been increased to 20 kgs for trusts. So this is the detail, that this gold bond scheme has now been made more attractive. So this, the government feels, would help reduce India's dependence on gold imports. So annually it is said annual consumption of gold in India is around 700 to 800 tons, and all of which almost is imported. So this is resulting in a huge current account deficit, or contribution to current account deficit too, of course, apart from oil. So this is a concern for the government, and that is why this gold bond scheme was initiated, so that India's dependence on gold imports could reduce. But it is stated that out of 700 to 800 tons, 500 to 600 tons is brought by consumers as jewelry for cultural reasons, mainly for weddings, and remaining is in the form of gold bars and coins, which are for investment purposes. And this is the section which is being targeted by the government under the sovereign gold bond scheme. So of course there are some concerns with respect to this scheme too, which has been highlighted by experts in the field, which are discussed here. So since the implementation of sovereign gold bond scheme, it is stated that since November 2015, there has been approximately 5,000 crore garnered, or about 16 tons of gold worth of gold bond scheme put into effect. So this has been its moderate success as such. So here the key points which are highlighted, which are going into making SGB unattractive, sovereign gold bond scheme unattractive, are regarding the pricing pattern. So the unrealistic pricing pattern with respect to the international price of bullion. Bullion, you should understand, means gold bars, gold, silver, other precious metals in the form of bars, coins, etc., which are used for trading purposes, are called bullions. So bullion is highly sensitive to international geopolitical tensions. So that is why the prices keep on varying. So what is being demanded is sovereign gold bond should ideally be the average of the bullion price of 60-day period. So this should be the pricing pattern as such which is demanded, so that it becomes more attractive, because otherwise people feel, the SGB consumers feel that they would lose money. So an interest rate is on around 2.5% return on investment is there, but still there are concerns of losing money because of this variability in pricing. So this is one demand being made. Another suggestion which has been made to make sovereign gold bond scheme attractive is regarding the 10% import duty which is presently included in the price as such. This has to be excluded. So the demand is that exclusion of import duty and IGST should be there from the price of sovereign gold bond. So this, the scheme becomes more attractive. So here the details of this scheme are also provided, that bonds issued in denomination of a gram of gold in multiples. This has changed now. This 500 gram has now become 4 kg. So that is the news which we just discussed. And it's a tenure of the bond is around 8 years, and it can be used as a collateral for loans. You can buy loans on in exchange of these, keeping this as collateral, the gold bond as such. And also there is zero risk of handling actual gold, because in case of actual gold, if you're buying a gold bar as for investment, then you have to know the purity level of it, then you have to handle the risk of keeping it safe. So that is why gold bonds are being promoted as being a more attractive investment option. So this is there, and of course you want interest as well. Then the next news item is, what is NHB Residex? So this is the NHB, National Housing Bank's Index, Residex, for residential housing prices. So here you should know about NHB also. It was set up in 1988 as apex level institution for housing. It is a wholly owned subsidiary of Reserve Bank of India, and it promotes housing finance institutions, both local, regional level in the country. So this Residex, actually NHB's Residex, was launched earlier in 2007 for the first time, but then in 2015 it had been discontinued, and now in 2017 again it has been relaunched, and with a revamped form. The number of cities covered has also increased from 26 to 50. So now 50 countries are covered, and also plans are to increase it up to 100 cities. So this is there. The base year has changed to 2012-13 now, and new data sources are also being incorporated to know the housing prices. So there are these two sets of quarterly housing prices indices across the cities which are tracked. One is market HPI for under construction property, and another one is assessment HPI, housing price index, for those which are getting details are got from banks, finance companies, etc. Also there are more data sets which are expected to be brought forth, like one should be there for resale homes. So these are for under construction properties and properties for which loans are taken. But then what about resale homes as such? What about rental values, land prices, even building materials prices? So these are also awaited as such. So there will be a major revamp of Residex too. So this is regarding that. So this gives you details about how prices are about related to residential houses are decided, and also it brings in transparency in the property market. So that is it. So these are the news items. Thank you.